Hello, everybody. Welcome once again to Alley Talk here on Philly Sports Network. We are live on YouTube. We are live on the socials over on X. Appreciate you guys joining the normal time slot, 2 o'clock every single Friday. You know you can find me and usually a rotating guest of characters from the Philly sports team over at PSN. Today, we will obviously be going through the Phillies. We're going to dive into how good of a series win that was against the Brewers, but also, unfortunately, some of the struggles on the other side from key starting pitcher Aaron Nola. What does his struggles recently mean for the postseason? Can the hot offense and the rest of the pitching staff help make up for or melt the ice, if you will, that seems to be surrounding Aaron Nola at the moment? Huge win, taking 2 of 3 from the best team in the majors, the Milwaukee Brewers, at least record-wise. Philly showed that they can stay with them, get a little bit closer, potentially getting that first overall seed. It'll be a little bit of a stretch to get there, but they now put themselves in contention to do so. And then on top of that, keeping a lead on the Dodgers for that second bye, which will be crucial with not only losing Zach Wheeler, but some of the issues I mentioned surrounding some of their other starting pitchers at the moment. We're going to get into all of that. We also have a special guest joining us at 2:15. Dan Koob from Sportstown will be here to talk about their latest episode, the Savannah episode of Sportstown. Dropped today, got a chance to watch it. But let's focus right now on the Phillies because that's what we're here to talk about, folks. Again, a huge series victory. They take the finale 2-0. Great catch from Harrison Bader in the ninth to keep things close, robbing a potential home run. They end up taking 2 of 3. A real gutsy performance on Monday, on Labor Day. Back and forth, came back a couple times. They take the lead, surrender it right back for a tie game. Then they end up going up again in the top of the ninth to shut the door. A little bit of a rough one on Wednesday. Aaron Nola, again, we'll dive into his struggles as of late a little bit, and then they come out with an impressive performance in the finale. We had Ranger Suarez on the mound for the Phillies, and he pitched really well in that game. Again, scattered a lot of hits. Milwaukee's great at getting on base. They're great at keeping the base paths full. They like to run a lot. Suarez, maybe not his overall greatest self, but 6 innings, scattered 6 hits, really strong performance from the left-hander on a day where they needed it. I really think that solidifies a solid series for them. They do head down to Miami starting tonight, not necessarily a place where they have performed, but a team that they can handle. We'll have to see how it plays out. Miami's actually played them pretty well overall. The 6 hits, 2 walks from Ranger. Can't ask for much more than that. The velocity isn't necessarily there, which is fine. He's never been a big velocity guy, but you have to give it up for Ranger. A great performance. The offense does just enough in the game to get things done. What we had, the highlights, a run knocked in from Turner, a run knocked in from Stott. Can't really complain there. Kepler with a double, Bader with a double, Stott with the double. Nice to see those guys getting some extra base hits. I know that was a big issue for Kepler earlier in the season. He had home runs, and it wasn't a whole lot else when it came to slug. Getting Bader to come in here and add some additional extra base hits is nice. Bohm with a triple, which is not something you see every day. Still things to be concerned about, of course. We know how good Milwaukee's pitching staff is. However, 2 for 11 with runners in scoring position. That's a few days in a row of not great numbers with runners in scoring position for the Phillies. So something that they're going to have to work on. But it seems that this rotation is working, and we will get into the outfield rotation a little bit later in the show because Nick Castellanos was not in the lineup for 2 of the 3 games in Milwaukee, despite facing Freddie Peralta in the finale, someone he had done extremely well against, was the best hitter on the team historically against Freddie Peralta. Nick Castellanos was. So something to keep in mind is that seems to be coming into a clearer picture, having strong defense on the field, and maybe giving Nick a few days off, which we had suggested a couple weeks ago, might be turning into more of a platoon instead of a rotation. So a little teaser for you later in the episode. But yeah, we're gonna focus on that Milwaukee series. Can't really be upset with the results. Really good outing from Suarez. they survive a game on Monday that wasn't necessarily strong from Taijuan Walker, only giving you 4 innings. Again, he's done any and everything that they've been that has been asked of him. Not necessarily his best performance, but he's able to do enough to keep them in the game, and they come back and do what they need to do. Didn't get the scoring started until the 4th on Monday. They ended up putting up runs in the 4th, 5th, and 6th, and then in the 8th and 9th to win that one 10-8. And that really did feel like an exclamation point. We were talking in the Phillies chat leading up to the first game, and we had mentioned that it would be interesting. What are your thoughts? How do you leave Milwaukee feeling confident? And I think that we all said if they play well and they win one game in Milwaukee, you're feeling pretty good. If they play poorly and walk away with 1 or 0 wins, if they play if they look like they did in New York the week prior, that's going to be a little bit of a problem. But if you look really good against the top team in the National League and you win one game, maybe put yourself in a position to potentially win a second game, you're feeling good. Maybe not great, but you're feeling good. And boom, they go ahead and win 2. Again, a tough game. It did just enough. The pitching staff pitched a shutout against one of the best offenses in the league, one of the most exciting offenses in the league in Milwaukee. But yeah, we had, what was it, on Monday, they were 5 for 11 with runners in scoring position. That's huge. Bader 2 for 2 with runners in scoring position. Turner 1 for 2, and Stott 1 for 2. Who else had? That's 1, 2, and Marsh 1 for 1 on Monday. Looking at the Tuesday game, they dropped the game 6-3. Aaron Nola allows all 6 runs, 5 of which came in the first. He did seem to settle in a little bit after that, but the fastball command's not there. The velocity's not there. It has been a struggle for him as of late. Bryce Terang really got to him, a few extra base hits off of him. I think he had 3 hits off Nola. No, 2 hits off Nola, a double and a triple off of Nola total. He left the hanging changeup to Collins, so a little bit of a rough go again against the Brewers. 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position on the other side. So when you're not getting an extremely good pitching performance, you need those 5 for 11s to make up for it. 1 for 8, not necessarily going to get it done. I understand that Wilson did have the big home run. That was nice. It's funny. I actually said that he was. I was a little surprised to see him out there. Not that he hasn't earned it, but I think some numbers were similar as the rest of the team. I was a little surprised to see. It was nice, but I was a little surprised to see with how tough Quintana can be on everybody that you didn't put out Marsh to face him. But it worked out, right? That goes to show how this rotation has really started to pay dividends for Rob Thompson. He really has been pressing all the right buttons, if you will, as of late. So just really, really strong performance from the offense all week. Again, a big game on Monday. The Wednesday game, you do need to get things done. The last 2 days don't give me a ton of, what's the word for, don't inspire me, if you will, when it comes to runners in scoring position. That's something that they're going to need to work on. It's something that they've needed to work on for a long time. And I think if you're a fan who tends to be negative, that's something that you can point at and really be like, oh, it feels a lot like before. It feels a lot like last year and the year before and the playoffs and whatever. But they did manage to pull off a victory in one of those games where they struggled with runners in scoring position because of the pitching staff. And we know that the strength of this team is the pitching staff. I think with the anchor at the end of the bullpen in Joan Duran, it really has helped them find their roles. And I think that if Topper continues to find ways to put guys in advantageous positions, maybe again, he hasn't committed to this yet, but taking some of those opportunities where he mentioned, let's get some natural rest by having a guy go one, don't start the 7th, even though he's only got 89 pitches, give him that rest and let your reliever come in a clean inning. So you don't have to have somebody coming in a rough situation, men on base already, and having to try and put a fire out. Well, they do have Walker Buehler coming up, but we'll talk about him a little bit later because the focus for me has to be on Aaron Nola and his stumbles as of late. Another rough first inning for him. The last two starts have been especially rough. It has been a persistent problem through the entire season, though. He's given up 14 runs and walked 7 in the first inning of his. In the first inning of his 13 starts. He's pitched 33 first innings in 2024 and 32 in 2023, and he gave up 13 runs in both of those seasons. So in a significant less amount of time this season, he's already given up more runs than he did in each of the last two in the first frame. Now, it's not always the first frame. He also had a third inning where he blew up a couple starts ago, but 2 in a row, really struggling out of the gate. Not having that location early is cause for concern, and maybe they could do some balance. It does seem like Rob Thompson is not looking at doing an opener, and typically when you see lack of command on a fastball, it points you to the direction of something mechanical is going on. And typically when I see something mechanical going on, when you think mechanical, okay, well, they have a top-notch pitching staff. They have worked on things mechanically with guys all season. We saw it with Ranger Suarez after that first rough start. And then when he had a couple blow-ups after that really strong stretch, they worked on some things. Jesus Luzardo, same thing. There was some mechanics that they had to change, especially when going to from the windup to the stretch. And that was something that they needed to work on and change some mechanics. You would think that if it was something bothering him in the beginning of the season, that they would work on getting that corrected mid-season while he was rehabbing. And unfortunately, that just wasn't the case. They weren't able to do that. Not saying that they didn't try, but whatever they did try hasn't worked. And we have a comment here from Alex. I love Nola, but it's impossible to see him in the playoff rotation or even the roster at this point. I think because of his playoff success and his acumen and what he's meant to the team, he'll likely make it. But Alex, I teased that earlier. I believe it was last week on the show. There is a precedent set. Taijuan Walker had a solid first year for the Phillies, and he was the odd man out to the point where they didn't take him in the first round. And when they did take him on the roster, they didn't even use him. Very surprising. Last year's a different story. Obviously, we know how his struggles went, and he's come back so much stronger this year. But really, something to consider is can you justify carrying him, especially if Walker Buehler looks good once he is back or once he appears on the big league roster. I forget the exact date, but I know they have him planned up to go to a 6-man for a little bit to give these guys some extra rest. So Walker Buehler will be making an appearance for the Phillies soon. He struggled as a starter the last 2 seasons. However, he's one of the best postseason performers there is. So they do want to try and break up those lefties. You have Ranger Suarez, you have Jesus Luzardo, and of course, Chris Sanchez, who's now the lead of the rotation. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But having a righty to break up the lefties, especially in a 7-game series, would be huge for the Phillies, especially, and that first round bye, get everybody a little bit of extra rest would also be huge. We're going to continue our talk about the Phillies for sure. Again, big series win before coming home. They do have a quick trip down to Miami, and then they face the Mets for 4 next week. The dreaded New York Mets here in Philadelphia at Citizens Bank Park. Time will tell what they look like going in, if they can continue to ride high as they have been and get just enough across the plate as they did in this past afternoon's game before the Eagles game. Then obviously they're looking pretty good. We're going to take a break right there because we do have a special guest with us today. And we're going to lead with some Phillies talk because he is a Philly guy. But we're going to bring in a guy, if you saw it earlier on the website, on Philly Sports Network, did a nice write-up on episode 2 of Sports Town. 4 best friends, their search for the best sports city in America. They went bananas this week, and I'm bringing him in. Dan Koob, the host of the show, is here with us, a Philly guy, so very appropriate for Philly Sports Network. Dan, how we doing today on this Friday? A nice Birds win, a nice Phillies win yesterday. Got to be feeling good.
Fish, I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me on the show. It's great to see you again, too. Full disclosure, known each other a long time, so was very appreciative that you wrote the piece about me and the boys heading down to Savannah, Georgia, and feel very fortunate to be talking to you right now.
Of course, man. Of course. And before we get into it, I did get a chance to watch the episode. I watched the premiere live on YouTube. Great episode. Love the vibes. It was a nice change. I love the first episode, but I like that this one really did encapsulate the difference between the two cities when you went outside of the Bananas. And then, of course, the partnership with the Savannah Bananas themselves added a lot of fun and flavor to the episode. But when you came into the studio, we were talking about the struggles of Aaron Nola recently. So before we get into the episode, just wanted to get your quick thoughts as a baseball fan, a sports fan. How you feeling about Aaron Nola? I know that it's tough to focus on the negative after a big win in Milwaukee for the series, but Aaron Nola really struggling since coming off the IL.
I'll tell you, I'm really excited to see him pitch for the Phillies for the next half decade. Really excited for that contract. 7 for what, 179 or whatever it ended up being. You always pay for past performance, as we know. Right, watching everyone around the different leagues, you always pay for past performance. So that's what the Phillies ended up doing, and that's now kind of like Aaron Nola's the best paid innings eater in Major League Baseball for the next 5 years. So if they can squeeze 5 out of him, that's great. You know, it kind of reminds me of Cole Hamels in 2009. If you remember 9, he was shot. His arm was shot. He pitched more innings in 08 than he had ever pitched in his entire career. And I think I remember this correctly. He said in a World Series press conference he couldn't wait for the year to be over because he was having such a miserable season. That's what this really reminds me of. Not that Aaron Nola has thrown so many innings last season that he's now falling apart, but he has been such a horse for the last 5, 6, 7 years that, you know, maybe it's catching up to his body. I mean, his velocity is never really been a guy who's rushing it up there, right? So his velocity sits at like 91, 92. And if he's spotting the ball over the plate and not on the corners, then he's very easily hittable in today's Major League Baseball. I think that's just been the biggest issue. And, you know, when you give up 5 runs without recording an out against the best team in baseball record-wise, you know, you're going to look pretty bad. But when you're also not getting outs against teams that are not the Milwaukee Brewers, then everyone's kind of alarm bells go off. So I don't have many high hopes from him at this point. He's missed so much time during the season, and he came back. He doesn't look right. He's got the ankle. He's got the ribs or whatever. Don't have high hopes. And when you pair that with Wheeler, you know, this is a rotation that looked incredibly strong 2 months ago. And, you know, it's not hashtag analysis to say that that's not the case now on Friday, September 5th. So, you know, you look at a 7-game series, you know, in a 5-game, I think they can get away with going, you know, Ranger, going Sanchez, and then going, you know, Luzardo, who we were talking about going to the pen, you know, a month ago.
Yeah.
You kind of need him to throw, you know, 4 or 5 innings, at least 2 rounds of a lineup, you know, in a playoff situation. You know, they may not have enough. You know, I have no confidence that Walker Buehler, who was let go after signing a $21 million contract in the offseason, is going to come in here and, you know, be the second coming. So a lot of worries heading into the postseason for sure.
Yeah, need to see a lot from those 2 right-handers before I'm feeling confident in the rotation. But I am feeling pretty good about the other guys. I know that Luzardo has shown some struggles, but he seems to be figuring it out as of late. Suarez has done a great job battling as of late. Even when he doesn't have it, he really seems to still induce soft contact. So feeling good about the boys overall, but that rotation, once you get into the playoffs, they've struggled against some good pitching. They'll need that good pitching on their side as well. But we're not here to talk about the pitching.
Well, can I make one quick point?
Please, yeah, of course, Dan. No, let's do it.
During the lightning delay last night, I asked myself, as a fellow baseball-loving Jew, I said, what's Harrison Bader's stats look like since coming over? He's hitting 307. Now, 98 at-bats, right? Like, he's not even at 100 at-bats since coming over from the Twins. But talk about a guy defensively who has really stepped up for them in a position which they needed someone with a pulse to be playing in the outfield.
For sure.
You know, he's got like 9 RBI and 2 home runs, but a professional hitter on the bottom half of that lineup is something that they have really struggled with during this entire run starting in 22. So have loved not only his vibes, he's got great hair. Clearly he's in the gym. His legs look great. He's basically like our version of I don't know why his name is escaping me, Spencer Strider. But yeah, vibes are high, and he's providing some professionalism in the outfield. I just don't think we're talking enough about how good he's been and how, you know, after some strikeouts of the deadline from Dombrowski the last 2 years, I think Bader's come in and has kind of stabilized some of that platooning.
I completely agree with you, and we were definitely going to talk about that later in the show. So, way to bring the extra knowledge, Bader. I think the thing that's overlooked with him, I swear we'll get to Sportstown in a moment, but the thing that's been overlooked with him is everybody's talking about how good he's been since coming over, and he really struggled in those first 10 games. So it's 307 since coming over, but it's like 360 since that first week and a half. So
And
it took him
big
a moment to
spots.
adjust, but he really's come up big in the field and at the plate. So
Yeah,
that's
big
a good
spots too.
job from you. Definitely. Appreciate the ball knowledge, and we are going to talk a little bit more ball, but this time it's going to be some banana ball because our guy Dan Koob and the crew at Sportstown went down to Savannah and went a little bananas, if you will. Got a awesome partnership with the Savannah Bananas. The debut episode today, I loved it, but I want you, as the guy who experienced it, take us through a little bit about what people can expect if they haven't checked it out already.
Yeah, Sportstown is the search for America's best sports city. We are a group of a couple guys. We started with 4. We've expanded out a little bit since then with the help of the great people at 2020 Visual Media in South Philly. It's an Emmy Award-winning production company right here in our backyard, owned by 2 of our friends from college, Rob Sisowitz and Patrick Rosenbaum. So we basically travel around the country in search of the best sports city in America. And we had our pilot episode come out in March, which was in Lexington, Kentucky, working with the Kentucky Wildcats. And then, we kind of looked around and said, well, where can we go next? Right. So there's Major League Baseball, there's the NFL, there's the NHL, a lot of red tape involved in a lot of that. So we thought, where can we go that's going to have high impact and not going to have a lot of red tape? And the answer to that is the biggest and most fun baseball team in the world right now. And that is, of course, the Savannah Bananas. So we reached out to the Bananas, and they saw the first show and they loved it. And they said, come on down to Savannah. The only thing you can't do is play in the baseball game, but you can do everything else. So you can try out for the Dad Bod Squad. You can dance with us. You can take BP. You could, field ground balls. Anything you want to do, you can do it. So, we got in our cars. We drove down to Savannah, Georgia with our production equipment, and we made a Netflix quality show about what is truly peeling back the curtain on what the Savannah Bananas operation is truly like. I mean, if you watch interviews with the Bananas on 60 Minutes, or you watch them, being featured in other things, oftentimes they're talking to the owner, Jesse Cole, or some of the players, just sort of like off to the side, in foul territory before a game, and they're kind of getting the same spiel over and over and over again. And frankly, it's boring. So this is not boring. This is a true peek behind the curtain. I mean, we're in the locker room. We're wearing jerseys. We're being told we can't be wearing those jerseys and jock straps of pitcher Andy Archer, which I personally was offended by. But kudos to him. A lot of space in that jock strap, Andy. Congrats on that. But we're in the field. We're dancing with the banana, the man nanas, the Dad Bod Squad, the man nanas. We're doing chants with the Nanas, which is the grandmom cheerleading squad. We're in there with the players. So an amazing time. And then we have the opportunity to go around Savannah, Georgia, and take in the city as well. So what the show does is we basically go to sporting events, but we curate like a 72-hour trip in that town as well for you. So we're showing you the best places to eat, play, and stay before we go into the stands and showcase exactly what it's like to be at a Savannah Bananas game. Kyle, I don't know if you went to the Bananas when they were in Philly a couple weeks ago. I was there as well. Incredible. It is such an assault on all of your senses that I came home. So I have 2 kids. They were way too young to be witnessing all of this. We came home and I had to sit and have a bourbon for an hour to decompress. It was so much sensory overload, but it was so much fun too. And I think that's what the Bananas have really tapped into is baseball is boring. Call it what it is. Baseball is boring.
I love it. I love it too. They're trying to make it more fun themselves. They're changing all the rules. I love it too. So.
I've always loved baseball. I think baseball is the most romantic sport possible. However, it's boring at times. And Banana Ball strips all that stuff away. They are crazy with the rules, which, we detail in the episode of Sportstown, which is now on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Sportstown Show. You can watch it right now. And they're so media savvy. They just get it. They're like, just do whatever you want. Use logos, use branding, do whatever. So we did. We went down there, had an amazing time. I think it comes through in the episode. The guys who make the show have so much fun, working together, which I hope comes through because we all are friends. And then, the finished product, I think, punches way above its weight class. I think it's a Netflix quality product with only, 9 people worked on the show this time around. So it's a lot of fun.
And dude, I know that it's when you're somebody who's working on the show, you're going to hype it up and talk about the quality. I might be friends with these guys. I am not involved with the show in any way, shape, or form. They're not paying me for this advertisement. They don't got that kind of budget.
We're
what I'm
not
saying?
paying anyone,
Yeah, I was going to say that.
including those who work on the show.
So I'm not blowing smoke when I say that when he says Netflix quality, he means Netflix quality. The quality of this production, you would think that there was a 25-man crew working on it. And it's not ragtag because you guys are extremely organized, but it's as skeleton crew as it gets. And you're still putting out something that people could find anywhere on their favorite streaming services. I've compared it to when you and I spoke for the article that I put out today talking about the episode. I'd said to you it gave like Bourdain-esque vibes in the first one. This second one, Savannah, a very different area than Lexington. It gave more like Jamie Sire Food Network vibes. And you hear Bourdain, you hear Food Network, you think high quality, and it lives up to both of them. So for anybody who's worried that it's just a bunch of dudes and their friend promoting it for them, no, I'm telling you, you're going to enjoy it. And you mentioned it, that my favorite part of it is that you guys you don't frame it as here's what to do down there, but you are by nature curating if you wanted to go down here and do a weekend trip, you don't even have to think about it. Watch our show and we got you covered. What are some of the things that really stood out to you that you didn't know about Savannah before you got down there?
Oh, so much. I mean, I have not spent a ton of time in the South. I've traveled a lot in my 20s for work, but it was mostly Midwest and Northeast. I mean, there was so much. I mean, I didn't realize the Gump bench, the famous Gump bench in Forrest Gump, is actually in the Smithsonian. So we went to, there's a portion of the show where I am dressed in full Gump attire.
Oh, yeah.
And we recreate a very famous scene on a park bench. But that bench is not there. So we had to go find a bench in an adjacent square and then shoot that while the Parks Department was leaf blowing. And they would not stop leaf blowing. So we had very short windows to get takes in. I think we ended up getting 2 clean takes audio-wise after sitting there for like 45 minutes. You know what? It shouldn't surprise me, but people in the South are so nice and so accommodating. You and I are from the Northeast, obviously went to Temple. We're both from the area. It is so refreshing to be like, could we do this? And someone's just like, sure. What would you like? What would you like to do? How much time do you need? Let me stop my day. Yeah. And it was mind blowing. But it's, and you mentioned the style of episode, right? Like very, very much so the first episode of the show in Lexington, Kentucky was a proof of concept, right? We kind of just wanted to get one down. Let's show that we can do it. And then go from there. But, the energy that the Bananas have is so, chaotic's maybe not the right word, but it is so frenetic that we wanted the rest of the episode to reflect that energy. So, like, we do things that are maybe inarguably zanier in this episode.
For sure.
Than they are in the other episode because we want to match that energy. But also, we are still figuring out what the show is, right? Like we have a lot of influences. A lot of people on the show are cinephiles. Like we want to pay homage to directors, movies, moments in TV and film that shaped us and shape, who we are as people and what we find interesting as content. So if you watch this episode, you're going to find homages to things like Forrest Gump, to Robert Zemeckis films. You're going to find an homage to Dumb and Dumber that I am particularly fond of. And that's just part of us figuring out exactly what this show is, because quite frankly, like we've made 2, we're in production on a 3rd, and we're in pre-production on a 4th. And we're just kind of figuring it out as we go. And that's like the nice thing about creating a show with your friends. You have like loose guidelines, loose rails that you try to keep yourself within, but you also allow yourself the creative freedom to push the limits a little bit and like find out what works, find out what doesn't work. So if people don't like the Gump stuff, we already did it, so it's fine. We're not going to do it again. That's like the nice push and pull of a show like this.
Love it, man. And once again, we are here with Dan Koob from Sportstown Show, episode 2, the Savannah Bananas, Savannah, Georgia episode dropped earlier today. A great episode, nice travel style show with a sports twist. This one, I really felt a lot of personality was brought out. And like you said, not that you guys didn't show personality. I think the way you guys have done your social media teases and releases have been great. I think that I didn't even know what to expect from the first episode. And when you guys did the teaser about you being bit by the horse, I was like, oh, okay. All right, there's some personality. And you saw some of it in the episode, but like you said, it did feel more like, okay, not a by the numbers travel show. It did give a little bit of a different vibe. I liked the behind the scenes. One thing I liked is that how much you guys showed the crew instead of just you as the host. And I think that really brought home I know how good of friends you guys are, but that really brings home that friendship. It really feels like 4 dudes on a trip and whatever, 9 for the last one, but 4 guys on a trip together. And they just happen to have really great cameras and know how to put together a really wonderful production.
And that's really what it is. Like, we're 4 friends, and more people work on the show now than the first go around, but we're just like 4 friends who have a background in TV production. So that's what it is. We have nice cameras and like we shoot it. And like, it is a goal of mine to get all of the crew into each episode, and not just to check a box, because like these dudes work so freaking hard, man. And like, we shoot 16-hour days. We drop into a town for like 4 or 5 days. There's only 5 or 6 of us. I'm carrying lights. I'm carrying equipment, like, and then I'm putting it down, and I'm like getting on camera while somebody's like setting up a tripod. Someone else is setting up a light. We're doing that stuff. And like, it is so guerrilla style. And you're shooting. So in the episode, for example, we have a scene where, we go ghost hunting at one of the most haunted homes in America. And we shot that till 2 a.m. And we started that day at 7 a.m. So you're working 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. on a show that you're not getting paid for, right? That you just like, you have a dream to make this thing happen. And we just make it happen. And like, the guys work hard and nobody ever complains. Everyone's on the same page. We're like, we're doing this. We're going to have fun. We're going to make it fun. So like, and stuff happens when you shoot, right? Like, we have outtakes on this one that I think are really funny. Any opportunity I can to put Rob Sizowitz on camera, I will take. He hates it, and I want him on.
He's so handsome, though. He should be on.
So
you're all handsome, but man,
so handsome. I am the least handsome of the 4 of us. I just happen to talk the most, so that's why I'm in front of the camera. But it's such a fun time, and we have a great time doing it together. And I hope that comes through. I mean, that's like the biggest thing to us. I mean, I'm seeing a comment. Do you want me to reference the comment?
Yeah. We'll bring it up here.
Yeah. So there is a list of places we've been or going to. So as Kyle mentioned, we've had 2 episodes. Our first one was in Lexington, Kentucky. We profiled the Kentucky Wildcats basketball program. This one is in Savannah, Georgia, with the Bananas. At the end of the episode, we tease our 3rd episode, which will be in the city of Philadelphia. We are working with Major League Baseball and the Philadelphia Phillies. We shot at a Phillies game earlier this year. So we will be featuring the Phillies in early October. And then we are heading back out to the Midwest for episode 4. And then episode 5 and 6 will be forthcoming in 2026 as well. So, we're super excited about the Philly one. Obviously, it's our hometown. This episode in Philly will not include every cutaway you see during Monday Night Football, right? Like, we're not going to show you Pats and Genos because nobody from Philly goes to Pats and Genos. Like, we're not going to show you fake boxers because we have real boxers from Philadelphia.
Hey, there we go.
So it's kind of like the If You Know, You Know episode. People from Philly will appreciate it. People coming to Philly will learn something about the city as well. So we're really excited, and we're going to have some very, very special guests on that episode that will shock you, Kyle.
I know,
frankly, shock me. Like, they shocked. The interest in being in this episode completely floored me, and I can't wait for people to see it. It's going to be mind blowing. Yeah,
awesome. And like, for real, I don't know. You teased it when we did the interview, and you were like, "You're going to be shocked," and none of you have even let a little bit slip. I'm just sitting over here dying. Like, I have a couple guesses, but I'm not even going to do it at this point. I just want to be surprised. So
you won't guess it. I'm going to tell you straight up.
Okay. All right. That's good to know. That's good to know. All right. That's exciting. Okay. Yeah. That throws out like more than half of my guesses. So that's good to go. Okay. That's good to know. I'm down to like 3 people, and I'm going to keep it to myself.
Okay.
I'm just going to be surprised. Once again, here with Dan Koob, host of Sports Town, episode 2, the Savannah. Wow. I'll get that eventually. I swear to God. Rewind. Episode 2 of Sports Town, the Savannah, Georgia episode. They go bananas with the Savannah Bananas down in Georgia. A great show so far, guys. I know I don't have you much longer, Dan. I do want to go a little bit more into it.
Yeah.
For people who are just joining us, Sports Town, it's some best friends and their search to determine what the best sports city in America is. And the thing that really has stuck out to me is the personality that they bring. Episode 1, you see a lot of behind the scenes stuff in their teasers during the episode. Afterwards, social media is a great way to understand how these guys are friends. And knowing Dan and knowing the creative producer, Rudy Mezzi, and how, no offense to the other guys, I think you're all great and funny too, but how much your guys' personalities have always shined. It's what made me want to become friends with you guys right when I joined Temple. You guys know that I joined 2 years after you guys did, kind of came in as the newcomer, and just the way that your guys' personalities shined really stood out to me. And you can see that a lot in the Savannah episode. I can see a lot of the things, like I forget what the one line is. I think it's as you're entering the ferry boat, where I was like, oh, that's everything that I would think of Dan would say back in college, and his interaction. And there was a couple lines where I remember, man, like I can hear Rudy saying that or writing it. I can see Rudy thinking that, writing it down and giving it to Dan. Like there's a lot more personality in this one. And you saw plenty, but it's a very different version of it. And I do like that there's an evolution, and it's not the same color by numbers formula between the 2 episodes. We've talked a lot about Savannah already. I know that you only have so much time for each episode. For anybody who watches the episode and goes, damn, I want to go to Savannah, what else could I do? What's something that maybe you guys were interested in doing and either didn't have the time to, or just had to end up on the cutting room floor? What was something about Savannah that stood out to you that maybe you won't see in full detail in the episode?
Well, unfortunately, our shooting windows are such that we don't leave much on the cutting room floor. I mean, like most of what we shoot is into the episode, again, because we're one crew. And, sometimes we're shooting 3, 4, 5 locations a day, and, you've got one shot to get stuff, and then you get it and you're using it. So, I would say one of the things that surprised me most about the city itself was how walkable it is. We have a segment that basically we are walking to and from all of these very fun, accessible places. That's like a riverboat cruise. That's an architecture tour. That's hopping on public transit for like 20 seconds to get to one of the most world-renowned sweets stores, where you can get what's called a praline, which I never had before. A praline is just like butter and sugar and cream.
Sweet.
And an almond. And, if I lived in the South, I'd weigh much more than I currently weigh. That's for sure. But yeah, I would say, are there things we wish we could have done? I wish I could have played in the game, but that's okay.
Right?
I would have made an absolute ass of myself, because if you saw earlier in the episode, we do fielding drills with Dalton Malden, who's the second baseman for the Bananas. And, he was like, have you ever played baseball? And I was like, yeah, I played till I was like 20, but I haven't fielded a ground ball on turf since, I was like 20.
Yeah.
I'm no longer 20. And he was like, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. And you'll see in the episode, I was not fine. So, the ball skips off turf a lot differently than it skips off the grass. So
yeah, a little bit.
I'm playing hops, and there are no hops. And I just embarrassed myself in front of the Bananas second baseman. But no, I mean, part of that's part of the charm. Like you mentioned, Rudy and I and our personalities coming through. Part of the charm is I have no shame. So if I'm embarrassed on camera, I don't think about it ever again. So it doesn't make a difference to me. Maybe that's what makes me a host. I'm not going to say a good host, but a host.
Oh, I think you're a good host, Dan. We'll keep up the good work.
Thank you.
One thing I really want to push for these guys is it is a passion project come to life. If you've ever thought, man, I wish I had time to do X, I wish I had time to do Y. Well, these guys are creating time, if that's even possible. I know it's not, because nobody has the time to do anything. We're talking about guys with full families, full careers, pets, other concerns, family members, and they are doing what they can to make this dream come alive. Sports Town, it is an experience. It is a Netflix quality, any streaming service quality show, but it's being put together by a skeleton crew, and it's indistinguishable from one of these top tier services as far as quality is concerned. And it all started back with, probably vaguely talked about in the studios at Temple University with a bunch of kids around from Philadelphia. And then give them a little bit of the history for those who might just be joining who haven't read the article. I know that there was a pilot back in the day that maybe you weren't involved with, and then really coming back, hearing about it and pushing the idea when you got back home.
Yeah, of course. And we're really appreciative for the article. It's a great article. Go check it out. It gives a lot of background, a lot of history into our past as friends, the four of us on the show, and also, Kyle as well. Yeah, around 2010, 2011, I think the seeds of this idea sort of took form with Rob, Patrick, and Rudy in 2012 or 2013. They went and shot a pilot of the show in Tuscaloosa, which was amazing. When you consider in 2012, 2013, I think we were 23 at the time.
Yeah.
So, no experience. Just they went and did it. And I was super jealous. I loved the concept. I loved the idea. And I remember telling them this is going to be huge. But, the media landscape, very different back then. You basically had paths that were Comcast Sportsnet, or, you're doing time buys at midnight on, whatever, in order to, get your product on the air. And the environment obviously just changed a great deal in the last 10, 12 years. So unfortunately, but fortunately, I was working at a place where I was laid off in November of 23. And I had been talking to Rob about making Sportstown for years at this point, years. And actually, we made a run at Duke in like 2016, I want to say. Put in a Durham episode together. And then things happened, just didn't happen. So I was like, you know what? We're actually going to do it. It's been 11 or 12 years. Let's just see if I get a town and the team on board. And I reached out to multiple places, and Kentucky was the first one that was like, we'll give you credentials. We think it's a fun idea. Come out and shoot it. So I went back to the guys at 2020 Visual Media, again, Emmy award-winning production house in South Philly, owned by two of our friends from college who do great work. And they were like, yeah, let's give it a shot. And that's what happened. So we gave it a shot. We went and shot the pilot in March of 24. It was released in March of 25. So it was kind of not languishing, but it was certainly sitting, waiting to be shopped a little bit for about a year. And when that came out in March, like we had 50,000 views, over 110,000 impressions on a show four friends made, had no money to market. So we were just kind of blown away by the response. And, we'll have an announcement pretty soon about a major national sponsor in the next couple of weeks. That's going to allow us to continue to go forward. So, looking back from where we were in a year ago, when I wrote an email to myself of like what I think a segment could be structured, how a segment could be structured, to now looking up, and we've got 2 episodes. We're in production on a 3rd. We're in pre-production on a 4th, and we've got 2 more to come after that contractually with this sponsor. It's pretty amazing. Like if you have a passion project, go do it. Find some time, chip away at it, and you look up in a year or 2 years or 5 years and just kind of see where you're at.
Well, absolutely love it, man. It's an inspirational story, and the quality shows the dedication that you guys have put into it. Awesome to hear that you guys are going to have a Philly episode. I love the teaser at the end. I know that you guys had done some filming at Citizens Bank Park. I know you can't tell us all the gets, but if you can give us one note before you leave about the Philly episode, whether it's around when it's coming out or anything, just to get the people excited before you head out.
So the plan is to get it out in October. If the Phillies want to go ahead and get a bye, that would help us a great deal. Buy us an extra couple days. So you can expect the Philly episode in October. We're wrapping up shooting on that, and we're going to be writing it here the next couple of weeks, and then we'll get in the edit booth and knock it out. So you'll be hearing from us again very soon.
Love it, man. And not Sportstown related, although I will give us a little sign off. Give us one note about the Phillies before you jump, the current Phillies and how they just did, or what you see from them coming the rest of the year.
Well, I mean, baseball is a marathon, right? Like they get swept by the Mets and they take 2 or 3 at, do they call it Miller Park anymore? In Milwaukee, right? Team with the best record in baseball. So, it's all matchup dependent. It's all day by day. You can't get too high. You can't get too low. I do worry about the pitching staff now. I think before the season, I said I had them marked for 89 wins and an NLDS loss. I'm gonna update that to 93 wins and an NLDS loss. So there you go.
Oh man, take the extra wins, but same result at the end of the day. American Family Yield is called now, which I don't know. I don't know who that is. Sure. Probably some mutual fund company. But.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
Anybody. Anyway, Dan, really appreciate it. If you haven't yet, go check out Sportstown. If you follow me on Twitter, I've tweeted about it. I've talked about the show. Make sure you give Dan a follow as well at Sportstown Coob and at Sportstown Show for all the latest on Sportstown. Looking forward to the Philadelphia episode, my friend. Appreciate the time, and we will talk soon.
No, I really appreciate your support of the show and you talking to us about it. I'm just putting the link into the chat here, if that's okay.
Perfect.
I'm not
No,
sure
yeah,
that's
go for it.
okay.
Definitely.
No, really appreciate you. Really appreciate your support, Kyle. It's been a really fun day of people reaching out, communicating that they are enjoying the product, and that's why we do it. In addition to making it because we're friends, we want to. So much appreciated. Please go read Kyle's great writing in the Metro and online. And yeah, hopefully we'll be talking to you soon for a Philly episode.
Yes, sir. Most certainly. We'll get it on the books as soon as we know more. Appreciate it again. And go watch Sportstown if you haven't done it quite yet. Appreciate the time, Dan.
Thanks.
All right. That is Dan Koob from Sportstown. Great guy. Great show. Wonderful experience. If you haven't checked it out yet, make sure you do so. I just put the link in the comments, sportstownshow.com. You can check it out right here on YouTube when you're done with the stream, because we got more Phillies talk coming for you, people. That's right. We love Dan. We love Sportstown, but we are here to get back on track. We are here to talk about the Philadelphia Phillies. If you missed the first 15, 20 minutes, we talked about Aaron Nola and his recent struggles. What will the Phillies do when it comes to that? We've talked about taking 2 of 3 from Milwaukee and how the offense showed a lot of grit. The pitching staff showed some grit, especially in yesterday afternoon's game. Pitched a shutout against one of the best teams in all of baseball and did just enough offensively. Those runners in scoring position is something that they're going to have to worry about. And they're going to have to focus on. One of the ways that they've done that is through the outfield rotation. So we're going to dive into that. One way that they can help potentially navigate some of the struggles with Aaron Nola as of late is they did bring in a former All-Star in Walker Buehler. We know that he's coming up shortly. He'll be part of a 6-man rotation. We'll have to see what that looks like as far as the postseason goes and who will get that potential final rotation spot. We will be talking about that a little bit. Walker Buehler, for those who don't remember or didn't feel like watching the rest of the playoffs after the elimination of the Phillies, Walker Buehler did throw a gem in the World Series and then actually came back on short rest to get the save and record the final out for the Dodgers last season. He pitched mostly in the rotation, did make some appearances out of the pen for the Dodgers. He could fill that role being comfortable there before. Maybe they do a piggybacking strategy with Aaron Nola, know that he only has a short amount of time. He can really unleash a little bit more, have Buehler come behind him or Walker come behind him, depending on who else they take. They've talked about using starting pitching out of the bullpen almost all season long. They've talked about how that can be a weapon. They know that they won't have Jose Alvarado when it comes to the postseason. Can they use one of these electric arms in the rotation out of the pen? So we'll have to see what that looks like. I think most fans are at least intrigued to see what Walker Buehler looks like when he gets called up. I think the plan is next week. I don't know if they have an official date. I do want to give you that date if they have it. When will he pitch? So it'll start September 12th against the Kansas City Royals is the latest that I am seeing on a quick search. So they'll use him in the starting rotation. He will do 1 AAA start, and then he will start the 12th against the Kansas City Royals here in Philadelphia at Citizens Bank Park. He seems to be happy with the plan. According to Dave Dombrowski, they are very happy with the plan. They're very excited to see him. And I think with his success that he's had in the postseason, it's easy to be excited by him. There's one thing that I wanted to talk about was his success. And of course, I accidentally overwrote the number. So let me go get that. There we go. Okay. Walker Buehler might not have had the best season, but I tweeted this out earlier. Great performer in the postseason. He has 18 playoff starts, 1 relief appearance, a sub-3.5 ERA. He has a 0.47 ERA in his 3 World Series games, which constitutes 3 starts and that 1 relief appearance. Among all pitchers in Major League history, with 3+ World Series starts, his 0.47 ERA ranks 3rd all time. He's in the category with guys like Madison Bumgarner, who has put on historic performances and may get to the Hall of Fame based on postseason excellence alone. You're talking about a guy who, when the lights shine the brightest, his lights out. He's steady. Hand doesn't shake. The guy lives for that moment. You talk about the showman in Bryce Harper, how when the lights get brightest, he shows up. That's what this guy does. He's built that same exact way. Doesn't mean that he's going to light the world on fire in the regular season as part of the rotation. What if he gets 2 or 3 starts before the end of the year? We'll have to see what that looks like. But after this latest struggle from Aaron Nola, either he figuring it out or Walker Buehler figuring it out is more important than ever. So we'll have to see. I know that a lot of folks are excited to see Walker Buehler come up. But yeah, we'll have to see what goes on. A little bit of additional news. 2025 first round pick for the Phillies, Gage Wood, scheduled to be tonight's starting pitcher for the Clearwater Threshers. Pretty awesome moment for him. I know that people were hoping that he could potentially get fast tracked. I always looked at it as a fast track to next season, not this season, if at all. But I think with your first round pick, you want to take your time, and they have plenty of depth there at the moment. So feeling pretty good about the boys in red pinstripes. One guy that people have had a lot of questions about recently is Nick Castellanos. Nick Castellanos, once again, was out of the starting lineup on Thursday afternoon's game. It was his second time in the last 3 days that he has not pitched. I think he's now sat in 5 of the team's last 20, not getting the start. He's been batting lower in the lineup. There's been some struggles as of late. So it makes a lot of sense why they would want to put in some other people. And I think you're at the point now where I think Rob Thompson said it best. You check your ego at the door. And Nick Castellanos is a guy who has plenty of that in the best way. You have to have an ego to play this game at the level that he has traditionally. You have to have an ego to be good and successful in this league, and he has that. And I think that the one thing that people worry about is he going to flip and go the other way? And I don't think that's who Nick Castellanos is. He's a 33-year-old man. He's a father. He's a husband. He's a professional. He's disappointed as anybody would be to lose playing time in the major leagues. He wants to be an everyday guy. Heck, last year he was literally an everyday guy, 162 of 162. I said on this show previously that I think a couple days off a week might get him right. And for a little bit, it looked like that might be the case. For how much he has struggled as of late, he did seem to adjust a little bit when they started taking him out little by little. I want to dive into the numbers for you guys. So we're going to go to his splits as of late, because really that Washington series is when you started to see him be taken out every once in a while. I know that the Texas one kind of stood out, but it was really that past Washington series where he did not play one of the games. I think, he missed one game in Texas, missed a game in Washington, and then it was Washington, missed a game in Seattle, played the 3 in Washington, didn't play a game in New York, didn't play a game against Atlanta, didn't play 2 against Milwaukee. And his numbers, they haven't been incredible as of late. His last week, he's hitting 167. Last 2 weeks, 241. Last month, 169. Not his best, obviously. But he has, since this has started, it was a little bit of a struggle. For, the Texas to Cincinnati, he had 1 hit over a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and over a 9-game stretch. But then he went through a little bit of a hot streak between Washington, Seattle, Washington again. He hit 375. He had 9 hits in 6 games. That was 4 multi-hit games. Then he did go hitless in the next few. But the last time he was in there, 2 hits again. So to me, whatever they're doing, it's working. And he's allowing himself to put his pride to the side, not mope like a lot of people want to accuse him of. I think that's just, you have one rough moment and everybody wants to hold that against you. I think that Nick Castellanos is handling this extremely professionally. When you're frustrated in the moment, people want to go back to how he spoke after the game where he sat and they asked him about, are you disappointed, especially being taken out for a defensive replacement? What do you want him to say? Nah, no big deal. Go ahead, take me out. It's fine. No, I want a guy who wants to be out there every single day. And that's what Nick Castellanos wants. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you? If your boss came to you and said, hey, you've been doing really good. We know you're about to close this big deal, but that guy's good, so we're going to let him do it instead. Even if you're struggling, that's going to hurt you a little bit. It's going to hurt your ego. But he didn't make a big show of it. He didn't yell at the manager. He didn't mope and cry and complain and badmouth his manager and badmouth his teammate. He answered the questions that were asked. It might not have been the way you wanted him to, but emotions are running high. The game just ended. He has handled it extremely professionally. And when he's been in there, outside of a couple games in a row, he 0 for 14 mixed into a stretch where he's hitting over 250 again. He struggled for a long time. He's been hitting pretty well since this rotation started. And I think it's you get the guy a couple days off of his feet, and all of a sudden he feels a little bit more focused. That takes an adjustment, and he's been willing and able to make that adjustment, in my opinion. Almost every single game since this has started that he's recorded a hit, it's been a multiple hit. It's a multi-hit game. And Alex here with the comment. We want guys to be open and honest, and then we bash them when they are. Exactly. Everybody wants you to be you. Show some personality. Show who you are. Don't give me the cookie cutter, the GM written response, the PR response. No. He was being him. He was being Nick Castellanos, the same guy that we love for undoing the top 3 buttons and bringing Johan Rojas along to loosen up a little bit. The same guy who makes a catch that everybody yelled at him for and then throws a guy out at home plate in the postseason. The same guy who carried this offense at one point. The same guy who, outside of Kyle Schwarber, was the best offensive performer on the team. And a lot of it is reactionary, and it's about the time that these things occur. If this were a season similar to Castellanos' first season, where he struggled a ton out of the gate and then slowly crept up, and those numbers looked pretty solid by the end of the year. If it's just happening in reverse, his struggles are happening now instead of at the beginning of the year. He helped carry the load with Kyle Schwarber when Bryce Harper was struggling, when Alec Boehm went down. He did what you needed him to do then. Everybody goes through ruts. We're just not used to seeing Nick Castellanos' ruts in August. But that's when it's happening. And they need to figure out ways to work around that, and that's exactly what Rob Thomson is doing. I can question all day long why Nick Castellanos isn't in the game against Freddie Peralta when he has 9 hits against him in his career and has the best batting average against as any Philly does against one of the best pitchers in the game. I can question that. But guess what? They won the game. And that's a call that Rob Thomson made. He made that decision. Everybody wants him to, remember, everybody wants, who is it, Max Kepler in over Nick Castellanos right now. Those same people 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, were calling for him to be cut. Max Kepler, that is. Those same people who will question every move that Rob Thomson makes with the bullpen are ignoring the fact that they have one of the best bullpens in baseball. Those same people that say that he just does what the veterans want are criticizing him for taking Nick Castellanos out and making sure that they are making winning moves. He's making winning moves. That's what you want from your manager, and that's what Rob Thomson is giving you. It might feel a little bit different, but that is what Rob Thomson is giving you right now. It stinks that a guy like Nick Castellanos has to go through struggles like this to start seeing some things. And you can say what you want about platoons, but it is working. Weston Wilson doesn't hit a 444-foot bomb if it's not working. These guys are all professionals, and they're getting in there, being put in advantageous positions, and taking advantage of those opportunities. To me, it's plain as day. I think that Nick Castellanos is a guy who will figure it out. I think he is a guy who will look just fine the rest of the way. You want to hate on platoons? Go ahead. But to me, I think that Nick is a guy who is going to figure it out, and these extra days off is going to allow him to do that, to take a breath and really work on refocusing. Not that he lost focus. I don't want anybody to misconstrue it that way. To refocus and get through whatever these struggles are. Everybody goes through struggles during a season. Trey Turner's hitting over 300. He went through a large struggle. Kyle Schwarber, 50 home runs. He went through a struggle period. Bryce Harper, two-time MVP. He has struggled at points this season. Aaron Nola, Mr. Reliable. He has struggled at times this season. Zach Wheeler almost takes the lead for Cy Young. He struggled for a little bit. Unrelated issue. Now he's out for the rest of the season. Chris Sanchez struggled for a little bit. Jesus Luzardo struggled for a little bit. Ranger Suarez struggled for a little bit. Harrison Bader came here, struggled out of the gate when he got here. Joan Duran, the best trade of the deadline. He has struggled at times since coming here, and yet the Phillies stand here with the second best record in the National League. It's that simple, folks. They have a really strong roster, and you wanted the manager to start making some decisions, maybe to make guys uncomfortable because it's for the benefit of the team. That's what he's done, and it is paying off. So kudos to Rob Thompson, and kudos to the Phillies for being professionals about it. I agree. Nicky has something left. I totally agree, Alex. Nick Castellanos has plenty left. He is a guy who loves the moment as well. And he is a guy who I think is going to have some big moments for this team for the rest of the season. Got to shake that off a little bit. We got a little bit of time left. I know we usually go a little bit long, but love the numbers of viewers who are in the show at the moment. So we're going to keep things rolling for a little bit. We talked about Aaron Nola's struggles. We'll have to see what that looks like. We're going to do a little bit of a look ahead. Obviously, that's the biggest concern from my end is what is he going to look like the rest of the year? What is Walker Buehler going to look like? And does this platoon approach at multiple positions continue to work? I think defensively, when you have Kepler, Marsh, and Bader out there, I feel really good about our defense in the outfield. And I felt that way at times when Johan Rojas was there. We have Harrison Bader instead, who's a much better hitter. No offense to Rojas, but a much better hitter. And now you're putting Kepler back in his natural position of right field, Marsh in the position where he's best in left. And also, I'm comfortable with Harrison Bader being out in center and Nick Castellanos being in right because he's that good of a defender that he can help make up for maybe some of the areas where Nick's a little more deficient in the field. We all know about going forward and to his left. If Harrison Bader can cover him a little bit behind him, that just adds to the overall defense. So it's going to be interesting to watch those guys the rest of the way. I'm going to bring this comment up before I transition to the look ahead because Alex had mentioned this earlier and I didn't get to his comment. Nola versus the pitch clock feels like a guy that never felt comfortable since it was implemented. I don't know how much that matters necessarily, Alex, but you're right. I know that it took him a little bit at first to adjust. He was a guy who got a couple violations on him. I know that he didn't love it during the test period in spring training. It's very possible that that's something that he didn't adjust to, but he seemed to pitch well enough. Maybe the home runs, maybe the couple that he's left over the plate. The long ball has been an issue for him in the past, but it seems to have really ramped up these last few seasons, right around the time when the pitch clock came in. So I wonder if him leaving a couple hangers as a result of him feeling rushed. I don't know if it's about adjustments. I don't know. It might be. Maybe he needs a full offseason to recover, just like Taijuan Walker did. I don't think Walker's issues were related to that. It was more about the velocity not picking up and him changing the way that he pitched this year. Maybe Nola needs to kind of get back to the drawing board and figure out a different way to pitch. Maybe people have just figured him out. But for him, I think it all starts with that fastball location. His curveball still looks great. His changeup, although that one was a little higher than he would like, his changeup is good. His curveball still his best pitch. But if you're not locating that fastball, and that curveball is down and drops below the zone, there's nothing really forcing you. There's nothing really forcing you to swing at that pitch because he's not locating the fastball to begin with. So definitely something to watch the rest of the way. Speaking of the rest of the way, Sanchez on the mound tonight for the Phillies down in Miami. So we're going to take a look at that one. The Marlins have played the Phillies very well these last few seasons, despite their record against the rest of the league. They're playing around 500 ball against the Phillies, despite them only being a playoff team for one of those seasons and being well below 500. The others, we have Valente Belozo pitching for the Marlins. I believe he's a rookie. Got to take a look. Don't know a whole lot about the Marlins pitchers nowadays. No, his second year, 13 starts last season. 3.67 ERA last year, not bad. 3.91 so far this year. He has seen the Phillies earlier this season. Guy we were just talking about. He's a right-handed pitcher. Nick Castellanos did have a hit off of him. 2 hits to be exact, actually, with a double. They are 7 for 37 as a group against him in a couple starts. So Marsh is 1 for 4, Harper 1 for 3, Real Muto 1 for 3, Stott 1 for 5, Turner 1 for 4. No homers, no triples, just the 1 double that I mentioned off the bat of Nick Castellanos. Harrison Bader's faced him once. He's 0 for 1. But yeah, nothing to write home about, but he's still a young guy. So we'll have to see. Taking a look at the splits, pitches much better at home, a 2.93 ERA down there at the Marlins home ballpark. The left-handers hit much better, a 5.22 slug this season against him for lefties, only a 2.57 for right-handers. So maybe the third time in 4 games where Nick Castellanos does not crack the lineup. We'll have to see what Rob Thompson rolls out when we get there. Don't have a lineup quite yet. And then, of course, on the flip side, Christopher Sanchez, top guy in the rotation for the Phillies. A guy who Cole Hamels said it has this opportunity to prove himself as a true number 1 and will be a guy that leads a rotation in the future, not just because of the contract, because of the quality and the skill involved. Taking a look at Sanchez, he has pitched well against the Marlins. They have a combined 154 average, 154 on base, and 154 slug against Mr. Christopher Sanchez. A lot of young guys, so not a lot of exposure. Otto Lopez, 2 for 6, has the most at bats against him with 6. Hernandez, 2 for 3. So, and that makes up the entirety of their hits, those 2 guys. So we'll have to see what that looks like, but Sanchez pitches well against everybody, and I think that you can expect to see the same tonight down in Miami. A big concern for Sanchez previously was how much better he was at home versus on the road. Everybody typically pitches a little bit better at home, but this year the splits aren't nearly as drastic. He's pitched more on the road and has a 2.99 ERA versus a 2.28 ERA at home. Really good stuff. So not even his worst month. He struggled a little bit compared to what he had been doing over the rest of the summer. In August, a 3.03 ERA, a 1.29, 7 strong, danced around some hits. No walks in his last start, 7 hits in his last start. So looked good. Chris Sanchez, again, over his last 30, maybe a little bit of struggles because of that high August ERA, but his last time out really bringing those numbers down in a big way. He has not seen. No, he did see Miami earlier this season. That was that strong 8-inning performance against Miami. 5 hits, 1 earned run. Really, really impressive outing. So may see that again tonight. Feeling pretty good about the Miami series. If you guys are feeling any type of way about the Miami series before they come home to face the Mets for 4, hop in the comments. Let us know how you're feeling. Appreciate once again, Dan. Ooh, geez. Sorry. Thank you. Big shout once again to Dan Koob from Sportstown, not only giving us his insight on Harrison Bader and Aaron Nola and the Phils in general, teasing the episode Sportstown show, The Search for America's Best Sports City, released episode 2 earlier today on YouTube. You can check that out, and on their website, sportstownshow.com. That one is in the comments if you want to check that one out. Appreciate everybody watching. We're going to finish up our preview for the Marlins series, and then we're going to get out of here. I know you guys are excited for Friday. Jesus Luzardo going against his former team on Saturday afternoon. Sandy Alcantara going for the Fish. Let's look up how Sandy's been doing as of late, because A lot of struggles from Sandy most of the season, a 5.66 ERA on the year. A lot of people thought that he might be a guy that they would look to trade just because a lot of teams might look at him and say, no, we think we can fix him, bring him on in. A little bit better at home, 4.58 ERA at home. A 3.69 ERA in his starts in August. 2 wins, 2 losses. Overall, looking pretty good. His last 2 starts have been lights out, a 1.93 ERA over 14 innings. So he is coming in hot right now. We'll have to see how the Phillies. Now, the Phillies have had his number in the past. A few really big averages here. So we're going to go Alec Boehm hitting 367 against him. Nick Castellanos, 259. Bryce Harper, 317 against him. Max Kepler even is 2 for 3 with 2 homers and 3 walks against him. So Kepler, who hasn't been exposed nearly as much as the rest of the squad, doing pretty well. Brandon Marsh, 238. We'll have to see what the decision is there when it comes to the outfield rotation. Real Muto, 306. Schwarber, 270. Sosa's even 3 for 6 against him. Stott, 7 for 29, a little bit lower. We'll have to see. They may go the platoon and have Stott, the lefty, out there. The nice thing is you're not losing a lot when it comes. You're not losing anything really when it comes to defensive switch between Bryson Stott and Edmundo Sosa. Trey Turner as well. Don't want to leave him out. 2 doubles, 2 homers, 15 for 40. That's good for a 3.75 ERA as a unit, and this includes guys like Garrett Stubbs and Aaron Nola and Ranger Suarez, the entire team hitting 301, 359, a 462 slug in their careers against the former Cy Young Award winner Sandy Alcantara. So it'll be interesting to see what Alcantara does against the Phillies. Luzardo, on the other hand, is the guy who I think a lot of eyes will be on. Is he going to solidify himself as that third starter in the rotation, especially with the struggles from Aaron Nola at the moment? He seemed like a shoo-in for a guy who would be in the bullpen come October, and now there's a lot of questions about that. We're going to have to see how Walker Buehler pitches when he comes up, see how Aaron Nola goes the rest of the way. That being said, it's 6 starts in August, a 3.12 ERA, and that comes off 3 straight months of a 5.25 or higher ERA. Across a really rough patch, May, June, and July for him. His last 15 days, his last 2 starts, a 3.38. So he had 1 blow up, 6 2/3 of scoreless. A little bit of trouble mopping up after him in his last start, but only 2 hits, only the 1 walk, 7 Ks. Really, really strong performance from Luzardo the last time out. His last month, a 283, has really settled in. 5 starts, a 283. Not only 9 earned runs over 28 2/3 innings. So looked really good. His last start, his last 2 starts against Miami earlier this season allowed 14 hits over 12 innings. So that'll be something to watch. A 3.75. He does seem to do. He does seem to do a little bit better on the road as of late, so we'll see. Maybe he'll feel comfortable pitching down there again. It's going to be interesting to watch. Want to backtrack for a second while I get the info up for the Sunday finale. Another comment from Alex. Love the effort in the comments today, man. Appreciate the love, Alex. He was on the release Kepler bandwagon, but he settled into his role, and he's been solid the last month or so. And remember, people were complaining about him saying, yeah, it was an adjustment. I was told I was going to be an everyday player. Oh, we'll play better. Well, what's he done? He's put his ego to the side, and he's played better. You put him in advantageous positions. He's out there playing his role instead of focused on playing every day or focused on this. That's what winning clubs do. That's a winning approach. That's a winning DNA, to be able to put your ego to the side and really lock in and do what's being asked of you instead of do maybe what you expected or what you wanted to do when you first came here. This team has World Series aspirations, and having guys like him and having guys like Nick Castellanos put their personal issues to the side to be able to play and really perform in a way that's for the betterment of the team. really stands out to me. That's the thing. People want to talk about the moping and the comments or whatever, but these guys are just being honest on questions that were asked, and they're not allowing it to impact their play. They're not allowing it to impact their relationships with their teammates. Really something to consider when we worry about these kinds of things. Miami has not named a starter. There we go. Woo! Long night. I was working down at the Eagles game last night. Selling brewskis for Aramark down there last night. Pretty exhausted. So apologies if at any point it felt like today I was losing my focus. We're going to look at his splits. So Taijuan Walker will be going for the Phillies on Sunday before they come home. Walker, again, has been such a godsend for this team. I know that you can complain about his numbers all you want, and I know last year was what it was, and I think that really jaded a lot of fans to Taijuan Walker, but he has done anything that they have asked of him this season. He has started 10 games on the road, had 5 relief appearances on the road, a 3.63 ERA on the road this season. ERA's jumped up a little bit here in the second half, but still a really strong effort from Taijuan Walker. I want to look at his starter versus relief number. There we go. His starter numbers as a starter, a 3.96 ERA, looked even better before the last game. He, especially since being reinserted into the rotation, he has looked really strong. Again, maybe that last game a little bit of a tougher go of it. 4 earned runs over 4 innings, so not exactly what you want to see. But he's doing what you need, and he's unless he suddenly falls apart in the month of September, I feel like he's earned himself a spot on that postseason roster. So it'll be interesting to see. It may not even come down to Sunday. Do they have a chance to go for the sweep, or are they fighting for the series win? Obviously, we're going to have to see how Saturday and tonight go, but I'm feeling confident about this, and I know that we have the Mets coming back into town. Obviously, that is the series that all the fans are excited for, but you cannot look past the Marlins. They have played the Phillies very well in their careers. So you do not, over those last few years, I should say. I think they are, again, in the Bryce Harper era, they are now just below 500. Coming into the last 2 series, they were above 500 against the Phillies since Bryce Harper joined the team. A little bit of a different record since 2022, since that World Series run. But since Bryce Harper came and they really started to make a push towards winning, the Marlins had actually outperformed the Phillies in their head-to-head matchups. Walker, again, because of how young this team is, hasn't seen this current Marlins team a lot. They're hitting 2 for 24 against him. Take that for how you will. There's a lot of guys who have only seen him one time because of relief appearances. So I think we don't really know much going into that lineup. Into that matchup, rather. Got to take a little bit of a break here, folks. If you loved the Phillies talk, well, get yourself ready. Take a little break yourself and then get ready again, because I'm going to be joining Sean Brace over on Fox Sports The Gambler to talk all things Eagles and Phillies in a little bit. Appreciate all the love. Alex, #1 guy in the comments. Appreciate the love, man. And that about wraps it up for Alley Talk today, guys. We did a lot on Harrison Bader and how good he's been, the outfield rotation, your thoughts on Nick Castellanos, how much of a struggle is Aaron Nola, and all of those things cannot outweigh the fact that they just took 2 of 3 from the best darn team in the major leagues. Only 4.5 out of that #1 spot in the National League. If they play their brand of baseball the rest of the way, there's no reason to think that they won't fight for that spot and confirm a bye before it's all said and done. Appreciate the love. Appreciate the support. That's what we're here to do. We love the game. We're not here to complain about it. We're not here to cry and moan and all this about the game and the Phillies. We are here to love the game, love the Phillies, and appreciate all of you. Big shout out once again to Dan Koob from Sportstown. Go check them out, sportstownshow.com, or over on YouTube where the Savannah Bananas episode is there. Get yourself a little behind-the-scenes look into what makes the Bananas so popular. And keep it locked in right here every single Friday right here on Philly Sports Network. Alley Talk, you can find me at 2 o'clock at Kyle Fisher 45 if you want my insights between each episode. I did release a nice little article on the Sports Town episode, and we'll be writing a lot about the Mets this week. I'll be in the booth 3 times next week, twice during the Mets series, to give you my insights and my takes on what we hear from the players and the coaches. So keep it locked in at Philadelphia SN on X to follow everybody else on the Crack Phillies team. We also obviously have a ton of wonderful stuff coming out from the Eagles. Our guys, Chris Babos and Corey Nido, who you know from joining this show. Not only are they both contributors to the Phillies team, they are both big-time guys, lead writers for the Eagles squad. So make sure you check out what those guys are putting out. Liam Jenkins, the guy who runs the show, he is a giant Eagles fan. That's what made him start the entire thing. So look out for a bunch of content from him. Make sure you give our guys Alec Costoval, Matt Watts, and Sean Nestor a follow as well. Appreciate everybody out there, and keep it locked in all week long for our takes on this Mets series. And we will talk about it here, right here on Alley Talk next Friday. Appreciate you guys. Peace out.